We should all know by now that one of the best ways to get started in real estate is by moving out of the property that you're in right now and renting it out. But if you're anything like me, you're probably doing your due diligence and research on how to do this strategy, and you're also spending time thinking things through to see how it can actually work with your unique situation. But maybe you're second guessing yourself along the way and confusing yourself with the math and logistics of it all. And you're ultimately maybe creating some doubts on how to really go about it. Maybe you're creating some doubts like, am I sure my property is even gonna rent out? And how do I even make sure what my property will rent out for? And will that even be enough to make money from it? Or once I actually know that my house can rent, how do I go about renting it out? I don't even have lease contracts. And then you might also ask yourself, where am I gonna move to if I rent out the house that I'm living in right now? These are all questions that I want to address because I ask myself these questions too. So, mattering question number 1, am I even sure that my property is gonna rent out? Well, this really just depends on your market. Are there people moving into your city or are there people moving out? And then also, is your property located in a good part of town or bad part of town? All of that will impact your renter pool, but pay attention, because I feel like for the most part, in general, there's never going to be a shortage of renters. So just watch out for the quality of renter and make sure that you're always looking out for the best renters to rent out your property. In my case, one of the houses that I'm renting out is in the suburbs of town, but it's a very desirable area because of all of the good schools that are surrounding it. So be on the lookout for that. Good schools, company headquarters that's really close by, also parks and shopping centers. Those are all really good things that attract renters. All right, now mattering question number 2, how much will my property rent out for, and am I sure that's even enough to make money from it? All right, again, this is gonna kind of depend on your market. So what you gotta do is start getting a general idea of what homes are renting out for in your area. Find out other homes that are for rent and compare them to the house that you live in that you're wanting to rent out. So let's take, for example, the property that I'm currently renting out. I actually bought it in 2018. We lived in it for 2 years, then we moved out and we're renting it out now. So let's just take that property for example. It's 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, but that's not enough to compare it to other properties. You also got to take into consideration how old the property is and how big the property is. So this property in this example is 1,100 square feet. And it was built in the 1980s. So that already is a lot more information that we're gonna need to compare to other properties. So what you gotta do is check on Zillow or any other real estate website and check for properties that are renting out that are similar to yours. And then what you can also do is drive around your neighborhood and look for all of those homes that have for rent signs and a phone number on it. Call up the phone number and then try and figure out how much they're renting out theirs for. A third way that you can find out how much you can rent your property out for is by calling up a property manager. Just Google property manager in my area and there'll be a ton that'll probably come out. Call any one of those and you can ask them by giving them the details of your property how much it can rent out for, and they'll tell you. If you want a better accurate number, you can actually have them come over to your house and then they can give you a better figure. Property managers offer this service in hopes that you hire them to manage your property, but you don't have to hire the property manager. That will be completely up to you. Now let's just say that you found a really good figure and you're really confident that it could rent out for $1,600 a month. Well, get your mortgage and subtract it from that. And that's all you got to do to figure out if you're going to make some money from it. So let's just say that your mortgage with taxes and insurance included is about $1,200 a month. Well, if you take away $1,200 from $1,600, you're left with $400 a month. But remember, you do have to set money aside for any future repairs. So although you are the one that ultimately decides that, I do recommend that you probably take $200 a month from that so that you can set it aside for future expenses. So that will leave you with $200 a month. Now, yes, $200 a month extra is not a lot. But guess what? You're making a lot of money from that property in different ways than just the extra $200 that are left over every month. And that's from tax benefits and principal pay down and appreciation. So I'm not going to cover all that in this video, but I did make a video previously that touches on all of that and how you can make money in real estate. But overall, for someone that wants to get started, this is great. $200 a month and your mortgage gets paid down and you cover for any future expenses. That's awesome. Now, mattering question number 3. How do I go about renting it out? I don't even have lease contracts. So if you want to do things the right way, there's a few things that you got to get done. You're going to have to market your property. You're going to have to show it to prospective tenants. And then you're going to have to screen those tenants to make sure that they're actually qualified to rent out your property. And then you're going to have to sign a lease agreement with them. So marketing the property. You can do this by couple of ways, but most people like to do it through Facebook or through Zillow. Now, I'm not sponsored by them, but I do think that Zillow is a great app and a great service for someone that wants to self-manage their own property. There on Zillow, you can actually create a profile for your property, and then you can create your own lease agreements, which they provide a template for you, and then you can add a few things if you want to. You can screen tenants through Zillow as well, and then once you find qualified tenants, you can sign that lease agreement that you had created, and then I think they can even submit rent payments and submit maintenance requests through that app. So I think all in all, Zillow would be a great way for someone that wanted to get started self-managing. Now, if you want to completely avoid having to do all this, you can hire a property manager, and most property managers charge you 10% of the rent each month for that service. But then you don't have to worry about showing the property and finding lease agreements and all of that. Now, question in matter number 4. Where will I go, or what will I move into if I move out of the house that I'm living in? Well, although that's ultimately up to you, I suggest that you move into a cosmetic fixer. And what I mean by this is, don't get crazy and super motivated to where you bite off more than you can chew because you bought a property that needed so much work, where you got to tear down walls and then you also got to mess with the plumbing and electrical. That is way too much work, and that is way too big of a headache for anyone that's just getting started to do. And so what I mean by cosmetic fixers is just the cosmetics, the stuff you can see, not the stuff behind the walls. So the carpet, flooring, paint, hardware, like doorknobs, light fixtures, maybe a little bit of landscape. All of this stuff is that you can see, and that a lot of people, once they look at, can be very attracted to. After a few times of doing this, you should be able to grow your net worth and your monthly cash flow, and then you can start looking forward to that sweet, sweet passive income. That's the way I'm doing it, and here pretty soon I'll be able to move out of this house that I actually bought as a fixer-upper and rent it out and be able to cover the mortgage payment and get some cash flow on top of that. So it's a great way for someone to get started. I'm a living example of that. I hope you guys were able to get some ideas from this. Happy investing. We'll see you guys in the next one.